So just how much more are you going to be paying because of new taxes, fees, how much is being collected, where it's being spent, how it could reshape your day-to-day life for the average Washington family? Well, let's break that down. Welcome to part 4 of the budget breakdown. The tax increases, the fees, how they're going to affect your day-to-day cost of living and family fun in Washington State. Based on, of course, our 2025-2027 House budget, which is H-2387.2. So, I'm your host, Jay. Welcome back to the Evergreen Report. We're breaking down more of the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, and just how these taxes are going to fully affect you. So I think we broke down majority of the budget at this point. We broke down the $30 million in education. We broke down the however much more in health and welfare and social programs, and then we broke down the transportation budget yesterday, which seems like it should be more. So today we're just talking about the truth, how it's going to hit your wallet, and of course your weekend plans as well. Believe it or not, some new things here to talk about. Capital gains tax, expanded enforcement. Though not technically a new tax, this was passed in 2021, is now fully implemented, being expanded through Senate Bill 5314, allocates over $10 million in new funding to enforce and administer. Targets individual gains over $250,000 to $1 million, depending on legislative changes. Real estate appraiser fee increase raises fees by up to 33%. Impacts your home sales, refinances, and property tax access. Firearms permit to purchase program, House Bill 1902, 8.7 million allocated to stand up a new permit to purchase system. Acts as a de facto tax on gun ownership, added application and renewal fees. Concealed pistol license notification system, $150,000 allocated to track and alert permit expirations, potential for future administration fee or renewal charge increases. So let's break these down by category here. Fuel climate, cap and invest auction fees, 50 cents plus per gallon, which is going to estimate to cost you about $600 per year per family. A real estate appraisal license fee hike, 33%, so $200 to $500 per transaction increase. Firearms, $50 to $100 per applicant estimated. Income investment, capital gains expansion, $10 million admin costs, more taxpayers captured. Vehicles registration for your hybrid and your EV fee increases, 25 for $50 per car per year. And then the general fund expansions, Medicaid-like coverage for undocumented, $5.8 million cost in 2025 alone. So let's talk about the capital gains. What is it and what does it all mean? Well, I'm going to break that down for you. Thanks for asking. Appreciate that. We previously talked about the capital gains on a recent episode, kind of what the bill is and the bill breakdown. But we didn't really talk about what is a capital gain. So if I were to explain this, let's pretend it's a lemonade stand. Imagine some kids having a big fancy lemonade stand and they make a lot of money where they sell it. That's kind of like when adults sell a big thing, like a horse, a house, or a business, not a horse, and make a lot of money from it. That's called a capital gain. Well, the government then wants a slice. Hey, if you made a big pile of money selling that lemonade stand, you should give a little bit of that to help people help pay for things like parks, schools, and roads. So they make a capital gains tax, like a small slice of that big money pile. Now they're spending money to collect that money. So they're going to spend taxpayer money to collect taxpayer money. The state needs to build a system to check who's selling stuff, make sure they pay the right amount, and keep track of it all. So they're spending $3 million to build and run that system for the next few years, another $6 million and $4 million to make it work for new rules they want to add soon. So why does this matter? Why? Well, they're spending a lot of money to keep track of who owes them the money. Some grown-ups think it's smart, but others say, why spend so much to collect money when you could just use it better? Uh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Why spend all this money to collect money when you could just use that money better? Why have this thing at all? So this is just what the budget allocates. It allocates all this money to build the system for $13 million to expand the system, to create the system, and then to run the system. And of course, it's over $250,000 to $1 million. So they're trying to lower that threshold down so that more people qualify for this. So if you sell your home and you make $251,000, then you're going to be paying a capital gains tax on that because they want their slice, they want their piece. This is a really funny way to explain this. Okay, so let me explain it again because I just think this is really fun and entertaining to explain it like this because I don't even think they understand what they're doing here. So let's say you build a really cool lemonade stand and someone bought it from you for 10 big jars of jelly beans. You only spent 2 jars building it, so you made a profit of 8 jars. The state says, since you made a lot of jelly beans, we want just one jar to help pay for the other kids' swings, roads, and toys. That one jar is just like the capital gains tax. Now the state needs a jelly bean counter. So they're going to hire people, buy computers, and build jelly bean checking machines. So $3.32 million, the cost of hiring jelly bean counters and buying calculators. $1.661 million in 2026, so 1 year's worth of jelly bean counting work, and so on and so forth. In 2027, there's going to be another year's work to keep counting and checking. In 2026, that's going to be $7 million to build a new, faster jelly bean checking system for new rules. So between now and 2026, so the next legislative session, they're going to find more ways to add more rules onto the capital gains tax. So they're precursoring it here, believe it or not, shocking, or to add more to it to probably lower the threshold so more people have to pay into the capital gains tax. And then they're going to spend $4.5 million in 2027 to upgrade and fix the machine the next year. So this is great. I love being able to break it down. ChatGPT, you really outdid yourself for this one. So with that, that's kind of what the capital gains tax is. If you were curious, you didn't understand it, that's two different ways to think about it there. Make all this money, government wants their slice, they're going to take their slice and say, you need to give this money to us because we know how to spend it better. But why not just spend the money you're going to use to build this big system on something else that's going to be more beneficial? Sorry, I'm just trying to ask more questions, get more details for you guys here. I should have prepared this much better for the capital gains tax. So this is directly linked to Senate Bill 5314, which is directly linked to capital gains and duty-free sales enforcement. So the duty-free sales enforcement is actually upping the tax at like the airport and stuff on like the shops there, which is going to make, of course, all your airport goods more expensive. This applies to individuals earning over $250,000 in long-term capital gains, such as from stocks or investment real estate. Excludes retirement accounts, sales of real estate under $250,000, and family-owned small businesses under specific conditions. Primarily affects wealthy individuals, but has sparked concern among financial professionals and small business owners about inconsistent enforcement and possible spillover effect. Projected impact and concerns here: uncertainty in revenue. Since capital gains vary dramatically within the market, actual revenue can swing tens of millions each year. Enforcement expansion: the nearly $15 million investment in the Department of Revenue infrastructure implies more audits, higher compliance costs, and a greater state oversight for higher earners. So again, if we're sticking with the theme of explaining this like we're five, like I'm five and I'm trying to, or you're five and I'm trying to explain this to you, not for any degrading reason whatsoever. To make it simple, imagine you sell a toy for way more than you paid for it. The state says, hey, because you made a big profit, you need to share some of that with everyone. So if you made $1, you might have to give 20 cents to the state, but only if you made more than $250,000 in profits on your toys. So as of 2025, most states already have a capital gains tax, but Washington is unique because it previously had no income tax. But here how it compares and what we learned from others. So this is also kind of being seen as like a precursor to bringing in the state income tax, which we benefit from greatly here in Washington State. We don't have the state income tax, which is great when you do your taxes, because then you don't have the state income taxes to pay. But this is kind of a precursor to all that, in my mind. States where the capital gains tax is common, but it's also part of the income tax. California, they have it up to 13.3%. New York, up to 10.9%. Massachusetts, short term at 12%, long term at 5%. Oregon, yes, at 9 to 9.9%. So they also include this in their regular income tax as well down in Oregon. In most states, capital gains tax are wrapped into their income tax system. They're not standalone like Washington's. That means enforcement is easier because the infrastructure already exists. But we don't have the infrastructure because we don't have the state income tax. So it's unpredictable revenue. You can't bank on how much you're going to get from the capital gains tax on any certain year. Capital gains tax fluctuate wildly within the stock market. California has a huge surplus during the tech boom and a massive deficit during the dot-com bust. This makes long-term planning difficult. Higher earner flight. States like New York, California have seen wealthy residents move to states with no income tax, like Texas or Florida, especially post-COVID. Audits and compliance costs. These taxes are complex to enforce. Many states rely on IRS data to cross-check. Washington must build this from scratch, hence $14.8 million in administrative costs, because we don't already have it. We don't already have the infrastructure for the state income tax. Has it worked? Well, yes, as a revenue source for most states, but only during boom years. During recessions, revenue drops dramatically. As a fairness tool, some argue it makes a tax system more equitable. Others say it discourages investment in innovation. In Washington, well, we don't know. It only became law in 2021. Legal challenges are still unfolding. Enforcement and compliance costs are high. So it's going to be hard to see where this actually leads. Other states use capital gains, but they're part of the income tax they already collect. It works okay if the stock market is up, but it's hard to count on long term. When taxes go too high, some rich people pack up and move because they can. They're not going to stay here and pay more of your capital gains taxes, Washington, because they don't need to. They don't need all that. And so it's just something to again to think about there. We talked about the real estate appraisal fee. That one's pretty pretty correct. It's going to be a 33% increase in the annual license fees for appraisers to fund regulatory shortfalls. This will directly impact housing costs passed down through home sales and assessments. And we talked about the firearm permit program as well. The permit to purchase program, I actually had a really interesting comment here, and we're actually going to investigate this on the fly because someone said it would be unconstitutional. Because the permit to purchase program, it doesn't seem constitutional to me. It feels like it's a major infringement on Second Amendment rights because you should be able to, as long as you're sane, as long as you're able to do all the things, you shouldn't have to go through this whole permit to purchase program, which is going to include like firing, all this training, all this other stuff. It should be a simple process to be able to get a gun. It's going to create long wait lists. It's going to create longer log times, essentially taking guns out of citizens' hands to be able to people who are normal and able to get them. This would include more requirements for individuals seeking to purchase firearms, and it's going to be difficult to get those concealed pistol license renewals if you already have them. So essentially, it's going to make you having a gun, owning a gun, getting a gun for protection or whatever the reason you want to have a gun, because it's a Second Amendment right to have a gun. It makes it more of a process. It makes it more discouraging to go and purchase one. But I mean, if you're going to purchase one, you're going to purchase one. You can always go to a neighboring state like Idaho, where gun laws are much more relaxed, and then get everything done there. Before this goes into effect, make sure you go and you know get your concealed carry before it's too late, essentially. Which is really something weird to say. Like in 2025, we're having this whole conversation that it go and get your permit to purchase, go and get your concealed carry before it's too late in Washington. Like it's that just right there is a major red flag on your Second Amendment, right? That's not right. That's not normal. And I think it'd be really cool to talk about this live. This is something totally different. When it comes to the Second Amendment here, okay. When assessing firearm regulations like the permit to purchase program, courts often examine whether such laws infringe upon the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. The U.S. Supreme Court has recognized that while the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess firearms, this right is not limited and can be subject to certain regulations. In the context of Washington's proposed program, the key constitutional questions would likely focus on whether the permit requirements place an undue burden on the individual's right to acquire firearms, which, yes, they do. If the fees associated with the program are reasonable and serve legitimate governmental interests, such as public safety, they don't. Whether the program includes provisions that could be considered discriminatory and excessively restrictive, they 100% are. Courts would analyze these factors to determine if the program aligns with constitutional policies, which it does not. Washington's House Bill 1163 proposes a permit to purchase program for firearms, which the money allocated $8.728 million for implementation. An additional $150,000 is designed for notifying citizens about concealed pistol license renewals. This is something different. Yeah. It's something the case I'm thinking of was related to something different. It's related to the mileage tax, which failed and didn't pass anyway. Thank goodness. Kind of shocking that one didn't get included in everything. That one is a bad bill overall, but I don't think it's the last time we're ever going to see that one. If you're unfamiliar with it, uh, the mileage tax was you'd be taxed so many cents per mile that you drive, and then 10% on that total at the end of the year. But yeah, doesn't feel constitutional. Definitely feels like it's a major infringement on your Second Amendment rights here as well. So something to think about here. There's also the next thing I want to talk about is also the tax rebate working families tax credit versus reality. While 512.1 million is allocated over 2 years to fund and administer the working families tax exemption, many argue it's being outweighed by new taxes on consumption and investment. Only 14 million a year goes toward administering it. The rest is direct payments. Critics say it gives with one hand and takes with the other as sales and property tax burdens grow for working families. And that's exactly what it does. It's basically like they're allocating all this money to give it to people, but then they're just going to take it back with sales and property tax. So you're only going to get 70, 60, 80% of what you actually were supposed to get at the beginning anyways, because of how much tax there is on top of it. Fuel, groceries, utilities could see indirect hikes from capital gains tax expansion and business tax compliance efforts. Small businesses passing new tax compliance costs to consumers. That's what's going to happen. That's very obvious. These real estate appraisal fee hikes, directly raise closing costs, refinancing fees, and slow housing affordability recovery. Let's see. I don't think we talked about these two at all, but there are two additional taxes. So the Discover Pass. which is originally $30, helps you go to all the state parks for $30 for the year, right? It's a great deal. Uh, Parks to cars, it's a great deal. It's a great deal, right? That money is supposed to go toward trail maintenance and keeping the parks nice, keeping them in good shape. Doesn't, right? Where does that money go? I don't know. But they want to up that by 50% in this new budget to increase that to $45. Where's that $15 coming from? Do you have it? Is that going to turn you off from going to the parks? More than likely, unless that's something you do and you plan for it and whatnot. But most people probably already planned $30 for that. That's going to be rather difficult. It's going to be rather difficult. And then, of course, the 8% increase on hunting and fishing licenses. Some people that I know, go and hunt for deer, for elk, for birds, and then they eat them. Eat the wild game. They get it butchered, they get it cut up, they have meat for the year. Split a couple families, right? They go in on it. They have meat for the year. But let's make that 38% more expensive. Makes sense. Makes sense. Because, I mean, hunting is helping the environment essentially with population control of these animals. But if you make it more inaccessible, these populations can very easily increase to the point to where they're unmanageable. Anyways, and we don't want. Let's see, over 5.1 million in admin spending, and more recreation resources and Nova accounts used for bureaucratic overhead and planning, not direct access improvement. 2.5 million for maintenance backlogs, but only 100,000 in grants, one time only. Parks may still charge more for maintenance. And like I said, there's 1,300 pages of this budget. There's a lot to take into account here. We're on episode 4. We've been slogging through this budget. There's a lot that just needs to be covered here. So state park and outdoor recreation funding, $5 million total for local park maintenance backlog, $2.5 million 2024, $2.5 million 2025, limited to $100,000 per park for urgent repairs like trails, restrooms, picnic sites, ADA upgrades, etc. One-time only grants, meaning no long-term solutions for routine maintenance. So essentially get them nice now in 2025, but then they're gonna go away later. While this supports park upkeep, it's not reoccurring, it only covers a fraction of the state's needs. Park may still hike usage fees like the Discover Pass, boat launches to fund shortfalls. We already see the Discover Pass going up from $30 to $45. 5.1 million in administrative spending from the Recreation and Resources and Nova accounts. Fund used for planning, hearings, cultural site studies, hiring staff, strategic meetings, not direct improvements like trails or facilities. Like $299,000 a year for additional staff to coordinate capital project requests. No, let's get rid of that. Let's put this $300,000 back in to the parks and the trails and the facilities. $366 a year for new data system between fish and wildlife and natural resources. No, we have that already. Use what we got in these two things. Use the staff you have to coordinate these capital project requests and use this $600,000 almost and put that back into the park for ongoing maintenance and ongoing improvement at the trails and the facilities. This money doesn't build anything you can use. It supports paperwork, compliance, and internal communication. We don't need. Who needs it? Nobody needs it. Then you have the Lake Union Boater Education Campaign, $250,000 total across 2024 and 2025. This funds public outreach to reduce seep lane boat collisions on Lake Union. Materials include posters, flyers, boater education guide. Does not fund infrastructure like docks, markers, or patrols. I mean, why not use this $250,000 for infrastructure, docks, markers, patrols to help mitigate some of those boat collisions? This is localized spending that doesn't benefit broader Washington families, especially outside Seattle. Prioritizes niche safety concerns over general recreations access. Like, make Lake Union safer by having better docks, markers, and patrols. That would help. That would help with this $250,000 plus that $635,000. Put it here as well to make it safer, to make all of our waterways safer that people use for recreational activities. $950,000 for Fort Worden State Park grounds maintenance tied to a learning center public-private lease structure review. $50,000 grant for a youth day camp mental health counselor in Blaine. $1,000 for climate audits in historic buildings. Electric lawnmowers, trail diversity programs, cultural sensitivity plans for outdoor agencies. While these all are well-intentioned, many of these are small, one-time, or targeted to niche demographics. They don't move the needle on statewide family access to funds. Because yes, Fort Worden State Park getting $950,000 tied to a learning center public-private lease structure review. So this is tied to something else. It doesn't just go to the grounds maintenance. It's tied to something public-private lease structure review. $50,000 grant for a youth day camp mental health counselor in Blaine. I mean, that sounds great. $200,000 for all these for climate audits in historical buildings. If they're historic building, just it's a historic building. Just upkeep it, keep it nice, keep it running, keep it moving. Electric lawnmowers. Why? Why do we have to have electric lawnmowers? They essentially cost more. Just keep the good lawnmowers you already have, the gas powered ones that you already have. Maybe just spend this money to maintain those. Trail diversity programs. I don't even want to know what that means. Cultural sensitivity plans for outdoor agencies. Why? Why do you need that? You don't need that. Like, we're finding money just in these last few episodes on what you don't need. This is just crazy. Discover Pass hikes new rules via Senate Bill 5390 with 150,000 already budgeted for enforcement. So they already have money budgeted to enforce the increase of the Discover Pass hike. The CCA revenues, which include indirectly fund $3 million in recreation planning, raise gas prices, hitting travel costs for family getaways, estimated at $400-700 per year per family, just for commuting gas, just to go to the state parks, just for the Discover Pass, just to go to these places, is already to cost you $700 more a year, on top of your regular gas costs. On top of that, to take a vacation, to drive around the state, to go to these beautiful, beautiful places that we're so blessed with to call having our home state, that we get to access, that we get to use. But it's going to cost you $15 more for the pass, and then it's going to cost you, you know, couple hundred more for the gas to get there and back to your home, plus more money for the food while you're there, more money on the shops, more money on everything. And essentially almost becomes not worth it to go into to experience these beautiful places. Summary of this fun budget breakdown. Park maintenance grants, $5 million are one-time limited relief. Admin overhead, $5.1 million. There's no direct gain here. A Lake Union safety campaign. This is only in Seattle, so it's $250,000 only for Seattle, but doesn't actually help Lake Union become safer or improve the infrastructure. Climate equity trail grants, $300,000 to $1 million. Niche access equity goals. Fort Worth and maintenance, $950,000, but it's localized infrastructure. Discover Pass bill setup, $150,000 already planned to implement that. Implement the prices going up. It's crazy. It's crazy what they're doing here. They're making it less fun, making it less fun for everything. It's just they're finding every way to tax the fun out of Washington, every way they can to tax the fun out of the state that we all love, that we all call home. Gun control enforcement. Now we're kind of going on to the controversial, the criticism here. Nearly $9 million in taxpayer dollars for building out firearm permit systems, viewed by many as ideological rather than public safety driven. Yeah, 100% it's ideological. You take this money, why not spend it somewhere else that could be better spent? Why do you have to spend it all here on the capital gains or on this infrastructure for guns and things like that, which is going to create a backlog, which is then going to infringe on Second Amendment right? It's not constitutional. It's not legal. It's not right. Millions budgeted to staff and train new revenue enforcement personnel. $5 million just in Department of Revenue admin cost increases in 2026 and 2027. So just in admin costs, you're having $5 million in taxpayer dollars go for that. Millions budgeted to staff and to train revenue enforcement personnel. Yep, just money just to go to hire people, train people to enforce this stuff that nobody voted for, that nobody wants in the first place. To go and get that money, get that money. The capital gains tax was passed in 2021 and heavily contested as an unconstitutional income tax by opponent. It is now fully funded and being expanded, which means if this is expanded and this is going to levels it's going to, I would expect come 2026, 2027, when the next budget comes around, they're going to introduce the income tax. I have no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The income tax is coming. The state income tax is coming. This was a precursor for it. They got this through. They're pushing this through. If Governor Ferguson doesn't veto this part of the bill, it's going through, and this is the precursor for state income tax. I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to call my shot. By the end of Governor Ferguson's term in office as governor here in Washington State, we'll have a state income tax. We're setting up the infrastructure right now through the capital gains system to have a state income tax. They're setting it all up. The writing's on the wall. I mean, look at it. Just think about it here. I just humor me here on this thought because it's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. $14.8 million to the Department of Revenue for capital gains enforcement. They're creating the infrastructure. Their nearly $15 million investment in Department of Revenue infrastructure implies more audits, higher compliance costs, and greater state oversight for high earners. They're putting $15 million into this to create this infrastructure. How could that not lead to income tax? They're setting it up here. Enjoy the next few years without any state income tax. Because before you know it, it's coming. It's coming before you know it. Unless we get some better people in office to fight for us, to fight for you, fight for me, to actually make real change, not regressive changes. Not what they call quote unquote progressive changes. It's a privilege to pay all these taxes. It's a privilege to pay state income tax, like the others. So many states in the union. We need to be just like everybody else: California, Oregon, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, all these left states, New York. We can't be different. We can't have a benefit to our residents with no income tax. We got to charge them. Got to charge them. It's coming. It's coming within the next couple years. We're already considered one of the most regressive in the country, disproportionately affecting low-income earners due to high reliance on sales tax. The new revenue moves are amplifying this effect. So it's making it harder for low-income earners, the average person, the single parents, those on disability, Social Security, things like that. It's already making it harder for them. It's going to make it harder on you and me. It's going to make it more gas more expensive. It's going to make food more expensive. There's a trickle-down cost of all these things. Yes, they say, oh, it's all for the climate, it's for all these bike paths. But these bike paths literally only affect Seattle and Olympia. It doesn't affect us in the Tri-Cities. We don't want it. I don't care. Put that $235 million into fixing the roads, fixing the bridges, improving the infrastructure around the state. Put it on Lake Union. Less people dying out there. Put it on Columbia River out here. Make it better. Right? Stop making it worse. No one cares about the bike lane. It's just this ideology, these ideas that they're just so convinced on that are just the best ideas ever. That they're not. They only help a certain group of people. They're so niche. They're so specific. They don't help anyone. They don't help anyone. The fees are outpacing the fun here in Washington. Even according to Seattle Times, they've reported growing frustration from small landlords and home buyers over increased transaction costs due to appraisal fee hike. Tri-City Herald notes some good outdoor groups feel the state is over-administering recreation while trailheads still lack basic services. I mean, I would love well water fountain with a filter on most trails. I would love just trails to be clean, maintained, wide enough, safe enough. Is that too much to ask? Apparently, if you're going to spend more for the Discover Pass, make it more affordable. Make these places better. Make it more attractive. That will make me want to spend that money to go and visit these places. That will make people want to come buy the Discover Pass to go and visit these places. You're not upkeeping them. And then, of course, King 5 ran a segment on how the working families tax credit has confused many residents with only a fraction receiving what they expected. Yeah, because after the taxes come out, you're not receiving nearly as much as you thought you were going to be getting. And it's not fair to those families that rely on this working family tax credit. It doesn't help them. It doesn't benefit them at all. It's more of a burden than anything else. It hurts. It's not good. And so it's just something to think about here. I don't know if I really broke that down in enough detail there, but it was really fairly straightforward. You know, after sales tax, property tax, all these things, gas tax, that money doesn't go very far. Even though it's supposed to help, cover the gaps. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But we'll see. This 512.1 million is allocated over 2 years, and the working family tax exemption. We'll see how much it actually goes back to the people. Only 14 million a year goes towards administering it. The rest is direct payment. It gives with one hand, it takes from the other. Much like all these other taxes, it gives with one, takes for the other. Give a little bit, take a bit more back. Backline our own pockets with our own money. But then we're going to ask you for more money. We're going to take more from you while asking you for more, while giving you more, while taking more of that kind of thing. So essentially, we don't have the revenue problem that they claim we do. We have the spending problem. Being spent on things that we don't need. We don't need the capital gains tax, period. Put that money somewhere else. It's so fluctuating, it's inconsistent. Why would you want an inconsistent part of your budget that you don't know what it's going to look like year to year? Why would you put all this extra money into admin costs, hiring, just for those people to quit, have turnover? And what are they going to be enforcing? People actually going to listen to them now. They're not going to even answer the phone. Do what they want. Waste paper, waste phone calls, waste electricity, waste these buildings, which are then going to pay property tax, that's going to come from the taxpayers. It's all going to come from somewhere. The energy, the lights, everything, all comes from the taxpayer dollar at the end of it. It all comes out. So just remember this as you go for it. Where is this money coming from? fees outpace the fun. Tax relief isn't really relief at all. And where does your grocery money go? Where do all these taxes go? Where does the sales taxes actually go? We don't know because it doesn't feel like it's helping anything. This has been Budget Breakdown Part 4 here on the Evergreen Report. I'm your host, Jay. Remember to go over to shopforefathers.com, shopforfathers, shopforefathers.com. This is the Meat Sweats Polo. Use the code YoungDad at checkout. Save yourself some money. They just dropped a new collection. They're dropping new stuff all the time, so make sure you subscribe over there. Remember, code YoungDad at checkout. You'll save yourself 20%, and it's a great way to support the podcast. Anyways, until next time, right here on the Evergreen Report, we'll be back for the final part of the Budget Breakdown Part 5 right here tomorrow.